Finding your way around our website. Part 2. Sources. You will have seen in our basic video that allabout.heaven.org is not like ordinary websites. It is a massive database, truly massive, containing cross-reference mystical, metaphysical, spiritual, symbolic, healing, and evidence-based data. This means that help is sometimes needed to find your way around. So this series of videos on portals, activities, symbols, the basics and so on are there to do this. And this video is about how to find your way around the sources section. So if you go to our homepage, www.allabout.heaven.org, you will find a header with 6 clickable buttons. Sources is one of them. Click on this button and you will be taken to the Sources page. You will see that you can search the Sources section at any time using the search facility. Sources. A source is defined as a person who has had a spiritual experience, for example Enid Blyton, a type of person whose name is not known but who has had such an experience, for example a healer, a book in which the person is not known but spiritual experiences are recorded, a website which contains transcripts of experiences, for example a Rowid. We have very carefully selected sources for our website in order that people are not included whose motives may cloud their descriptions or who may make claims that do not stand up under scrutiny. We have concentrated on those who had no motive and no reason to gain from describing their experience other, perhaps, than a wish to understand it. So let us take a look at the categories. The categories. Once into the categories section, you will be presented with a list on the left-hand side of all the categories of source we use. You will see from the list that none is in the spirituality business. Initially we were even going to exclude the better-known spiritually gifted, but in the end relented, because when they were the subject of experiments by the genuine scientific community, they went into trance and rarely knew what had happened. As such, fraud would have been highly unlikely. You will also notice that although adventurers, business people and scientists are present, the majority of sources are more artistically inclined. This is Michelangelo, and there is a rationale for concentrating on the more artistic person. This is John Keats, George William Russell. Revelation of beauty of the spirit has come for many centuries, not from churches, but from the poets who are still seekers. And here we see Robert Frost. It is through the poets and musicians alone that we get the sense of a glory transmitted from another nature. Tchaikovsky. The nature of science forces them to study the material world, what can be perceived with the 5 senses. But as we saw in the video on reality, this has its problems. As such, They're not the best people to describe anything mystic or spiritual. Gerald Van. The aim of scientific language is to provide exactly defined and unambiguous statements about reality. That of poetic language is to communicate reality itself, as experienced by means of imagery, evocation, tone, and the ambiguity, or rather the ambivalence or paradox, of symbol. That is not to say that poetic language is nebulous, vague, uncertain. On the contrary, the cutting edge of great poetry is sharper and digs deeper than that of prose. And perhaps an even better summary was given by A. Austin, The Owl and the Lark. O souls, perplexed by hood and cowl, fain would you find a teacher. Consult the lark and not the owl, the poet, not the preacher. Furthermore, although we did not know this when we first started the research, a reliance on ego, memory and intellect is a very serious barrier to any form of spiritual input, meaning that scientists and business and political leaders are at a major disadvantage. In general, very few have been graced with wisdom or inspiration, meaning that those who have are worth listening to. The sources themselves. So let us press the last category of all writers and see what we get. The format is the same for every category. A brief definition of what we mean by that category, and in some cases why it is included, and below this an alphabetic list of all the writers we have on the site. So if I now click on Enid Blyton, I am presented with her biography. Scroll down to the bottom and the alphabetic list describes all her spiritual experiences. One could argue successfully that all her books were inspired, but she had only one defining experience that changed her life. She was never able to explain or rationalize it, nor did she even mention it until her biographer, Barbara Stoney, captured it in the book Enid Blyton, 1974. So press the link, and you are taken to the observations section, where you can read what happened. We described observations and how they are arranged in our video on the basics of the site. Profiles. Finally, there is also a playlist of the profiles of gifted people on our YouTube page. Instead of the biography and observations being on the site, we have the people themselves describing their own experiences.